Gen 9 is finally here. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have officially been announced earlier today, and though we still don't know an awful lot about these games, I'm here to tell you everything you need to know about what's been confirmed so far and some speculation on the box legendaries, the gimmicks, starter evolutions, and so much more, so make sure you stick around. For starters, it has been confirmed that these games will be fully and seamlessly open world. It seems like the love for Gen 8's world areas and the different zones that were present in Legends Arceus have let Game Freak be brave enough to make that step into a fully open world Pokemon game, and I'm so fucking excited for it. But I'm nowhere near as excited for that as I am for the starters. Though at first I thought they all looked like Fakemon, I have to admit I love all three now. For the grass starter we have Sprigatito, I think that's how you pronounce it. This combines the word sprig with the Spanish word for small cat. Its Japanese name is Nyaola. This combines the Japanese onomatopoeia for the sound a cat makes while also including hola, the way you say hello in Spanish. Sprigatito is known as the attention-seeking cat Pokemon, and just at first glance it's very clear that it's going to be a fan favourite. As for speculation about what I think it might evolve into, my best guess is some kind of ice, grass, saber-tooth tiger. I get this impression of going off its name and the design, with the leaf on its head looking like a sprig of mint, and mint often being associated with kind of cold and cooling areas. I know a lot of people might be, and rightfully so, upset by this typing, considering it's one of the weakest type combos you can have in the game, but I've got a feeling its design is going to more than make up for it. Next up is my personal favourite, Fuecoco, combining the words fuego and cocodilo, the Spanish word for fire and crocodile respectively. It's described as the laid-back fire crop Pokemon, who does things at its own pace. Fucking amazing. When it comes to design inspirations, it's pretty clear to me at least, going off his shape and his features, that he's based off a chili pepper, not an apple, which leads me to believe he could end up being the first fire grass type, and I know that goes against almost all the starter Pokemon conventions that we've had up to this point, but honestly, with how Game Freak have been acting recently, I wouldn't be surprised to see them doing something this outside the box. Last but certainly not least, we have
Quaxly,
or Koasu in Japanese. I think that's how you pronounce both of those. His specification is the earnest and tidy duckling Pokemon. Honestly, I've got the least to say about this guy. His design and name are great, but there's not much I can pull from it. I've seen some people speculate that the hair on top of his head might be there to replicate a postman's hat. I've also had others tell me it might be a pompadour. Myself, I'm really not sure. There's a chance he could be a matador. His wing and the way he stood makes me think of a matador holding a cape, but I'm excited to see what this little guy's going to achieve regardless of what he becomes. Moving on, I want to talk about the Pokemon that will appear in this game. It has been confirmed that home support will be available in Scarlet and Violet, though that was also promised for BDSP and Arceus, and we still don't have that yet, so that remains to be seen. So in a screenshot, we do see Lucario fighting a Hisuian Zoroark. I doubt this means that Hisuian Zoroark will be catchable in these games, but you'll definitely be able to transfer over your favourite new Hisuiamons to this game at some point. As always these days, I can't really talk about the Dex without mentioning the Dex Cut, as it has been confirmed that not every Pokemon will appear in this game, at least not at launch. Honestly, it doesn't bother me too much, but I know it might bother some of you, and if it does, let me know in the comments. Right down there, give me a subscribe. Now for a second, I would like to speak on the protagonists of this game. It's been confirmed that clothes you start with are dictated by the version you buy. So if you want the orange shorts, you'll need Scarlet, but if you're more of a purple tie kind of dude, you'll need to pick up Violet. We don't know if customization is going to be a thing just yet in this game, but at this point I'd assume that it has to be, given how big of a feature that is to fans all over the world. As for my opinion on the protagonists, I do think they look a little bit plain and basic, but I'm sure as long as they keep the expressiveness that was present in Legends Arceus, that won't be the case at all. Speaking of Legends Arceus, a big point of controversy surrounding that game when it was first revealed was the graphics, and the same goes for BDSP. The textures in all of the early footage of the games were mocked by fans all over the internet for being not really up to par. But going off the textures in the final games, it does seem like Game Freak and Ilka did listen, at least to some extent. So I'll be honest, yes, the buildings and the environment textures in this first trailer don't look amazing. However, I wouldn't be too worried about this, because in the long run, if history serves, this won't be the case for the final product. In a conversation about textures though, I'd be a fucking fool not to mention the graphical step up we've seen in the Pokemon themselves. I mean, look at the fucking Ekans and that Magnemite. I could do my makeup in that thing, it's so shiny. It really feels like the Pokemon company have finally listened to fans when it comes to higher quality models. It's yet to be seen if they'll be at the same level of detail reached by new Pokemon Snap, but even if the final version is similar to what we just saw now, I'll be more than happy. Moving on to speculation territory now, I want to speak about what I think the box legendaries might be, as well as a gimmick that we could possibly see. I first watched this trailer at Haywire's house, and there was something we both noticed that I wanted to bring to your guys' attention. Mounted on the wall next to the entrance that the security guard walks through, you can see two plaques on either side. One of them shows an orange that's been cut in half, and the other shows a bunch of grapes. After a bit of speculation, we did think this might have something to do with the legendaries, as the final shot of the trailer is that door slamming shut with the two plaques in focus on either side. But I didn't really think that was enough to make a theory off of. That was until I dissected the trailer frame by frame and found this. Right after the gameplay finishes, the camera does a close-up to nothing else but a fruit bowl. Nothing too out of the ordinary until you realize inside that bowl is a bunch of oranges and a bunch of grapes. See, as this trailer keeps making a big deal out of these fruits, do you think it could have something to do with the legendaries? Are we gonna get a legendary orange and a legendary grape? I don't know, but what do you guys think? Another thing I wanted to speculate on was the focus of time. There are lots of hourglasses and clocks in the room where the man goes to investigate, and considering Legends Arceus was all about travelling through time and different time distortions, maybe we'll see more of that here. I also noticed a logo that appears on a jacket of some kind that looks a bit like a web. Maybe one of the legendaries could be some kind of fruit spider. Alternatively, the logo could be some kind of time distortion, as it does look like an ultra wormhole. Or maybe it could even be some kind of distortion that we see in Legends Arceus. This is a stretch, but the jackets could even be a new uniform for the Ultra Recon squad. It's yet to be seen, but it's definitely a possibility. Finally, the one last thing I want to touch on is the logos for the games themselves. Specifically the Japanese logos, and specifically again, the crystals that can be seen in those logos. Now we do know from the past few gens that if something appears in a logo like this, it's gonna have some relevance to the game itself. Be that Gen 6's Mega Stones, Gen 7's Z Crystals, and the Legendaries in Gen 8. But it looks like this gen has returned to Gemstones once more. Specifically, these ones are kind of shaped like a sun. That's what I think they might do in the game. I've seen some people speculate that they might change the Pokemon's type, going off the fact that some people think it looks like a prism. Honestly, I don't really see it myself, but what do I think? What ideas have these logos given me? Honestly, nothing much more concrete, but if I had to guess, and if I had to put money on something, it might just be my hours spent playing Sonic Unleashed when I was younger talking, but I've got a feeling it might be something to do with day and night transformations for Pokemon, and not in the same way that Lycanroc does it, or Umbreon and Espeon, but maybe it's some kind of gem that when your Pokemon touches it, it gets a different type depending on the time of day it is. Is that a stretch? Most definitely. But I think it's the best thing I can come up with what I've got to work on right now. Side note, but considering the focus on time in the trailer, maybe it's some kind of MacGuffin that lets you control the time of day. That's also kind of a stretch, but I would kick myself if it did end up being the case and I didn't mention it. But what do you guys think? What game are you choosing? What starter are you choosing? What kind of gimmick do you think we'll get? Am I out of my mind for thinking the legendary is going to be grapes and oranges? Maybe I am, but let me know what you think in the comments below, and subscribe because there's a lot more stuff coming up your way, especially considering now that Gen 9 is right around the corner. But with all that being said, people, I've been KDP, you've been my audience, this is my outro, and I'll see you in the next video, stream, or whatever I make. Goodbye, people.